sebenza kanzima.
My name is Tonic Motion. I make piano mostly, but I can also do deep house, Afro house here and there. I also make hip hop. I'm gonna take you through a project of mine I made with some international artists. The idea behind this track was like to bring like a rapper onto piano, like piano to the world type vibes. So I'm gonna play all the song and show you how I made it and like what inspired me, like the idea behind the song. When they sent me the song, they just sent me like the vocals, so I had to like basically build the song from scratch.
Changing my life and my pace, stuck in the trends, I need space from you.
So mostly how I structure song is I create an intro and then a build up, and then after they build up, I will add like the parts of like where people are supposed to dance, and then like it hits very hard, like in the log drum will hit heavily, and then you know it's that's the part you say it's time for people to dance now. These are the vocals they send through, so I had to like basically build around the song without hearing the original song, because the song was mostly like it was a deep house song. I had to change it into like piano, so the tempo was like 118. I had to bring it down so that it can match like the 112 of piano. So the first thing I started with was like find the drum loop and shakers. And mostly how I drew my log drums, I just do layers. So that when you stick it up, it sounds nice. Then just using the one log drum.
Show me a woman that lives on
the first one is like the sub bass, and then the second one is the log drum, and then the third one is another log drum, but then this one is tweaked. It doesn't sound like the other one. And then the third one is also tweaked. And then I go to my mixer and level it up to create like the perfect balance so that nothing's louder than the other one. Another thing I usually use for my log drums, I usually turn up the swing to like 60%. So when I do that, it creates movement. It's not just basic like this. So basically the sound changes and sounds different on there. So that's how I create the vibe. And then together with the drums, and then it just swings. It sounds mostly like a house song, but it's like a combination of both.
just for me. So can we get away, my girl? And there's something better.
Something also I like to do is like add a texture just to fill up the song, like something like this sample of elementary children playing in the background. Just to fill up the empty spaces in the song.
Changing my life and my pace, stuck in the trends, I need space from you. Picking the fight when it's late.
So for my chords, I usually play them in, but most of the time I just throw it in if I'm using a laptop like this and then there's no keyboard around. Just draw them in and then I play around with the velocity, just randomize it so that it sounds smooth. It sounds like I was playing it on the keyboard then just drawing it in. For this one I used Keyscape, like the Rode keyboard. Like Usually fits in this type of song because it's like smooth and soulful. And then you add some reverb to it, and then just brings life, and it sounds wider. And together with this, like this sample, I usually add reverb also onto it, just to make it bigger.
Oh, what to do. Tell me what to do. And what should we do, babe? Come on me now. Come on me now.
I also like to add like a synth of some sort playing a melody. So that part is usually for like when I'm removing the chords, I add something instead of the chords just to fill up the gap. Just like on this part. That's all, there's something playing there when I remove the chords, just to create like separation and creating like, it's part of like my structure, how I structure my song. Usually the intro, and then the build up, and then maybe I'll drop it and then remove everything, just a bridge in between. Then after the bridge, I come back in with the log drum. And then after that, you just end the song the same way it started. That's basically the structure, how I do it. And also I wanted to share with you all how I create like my bass lines. Usually if I have an idea, I would just hum over the chord sound, like hum the bass line, would say, how do I want it to sound, then translate it into the laptop. That's basically how most of us work. You have an idea in mind, you keep trying to find ways to like lay it out on the software. If it doesn't sound as good as it was sounding on your head, that's usually what happens. You just play around with it. Maybe you create a new idea from that. Because mostly the ideas you have, you can't translate them most of the time. Or like you can't translate them, or you can't find the sound you're hearing on your head. Things like that. And also, in the topic of drums, you can create drums from scratch using percussion like kick, snares, and cymbals, hi-hats. And then you add shakers on top, or you can just use a loop where it's just complete, everything is just complete. You just have to create the melodic idea on the song. I'm also a remixer, like most of the time. I can remix songs. I remix songs for people. So usually to remix songs, you need to have an idea of like the music, the theory behind music, like understanding keys and stuff. Because most of the time, you can use the original idea, or you can go a different route if you know which key is relative to the original song's key. So it just basically creates a new vibe for the song. That's how most of us do these remixes. So on this one, I just took the sample from the song, like the reprise. And after that, I played my own keys on top of it just to create a different feel on the song. And then added another bass line, like completely different bass line from the original. Another thing in terms of like remixes, you must also try to use as much possible stuff from the song, so that like when people hear the song, they can still recognize it. You mustn't take out the identity of the song. You must keep the important part of the song in the song.
Sebenza,